Hello, my name is Adrian Stoffregen, and this is my book talk. And I'm doing my book talk on the Time Warp Trio. So, the Time Warp Trio is by John Cheska, and it is aimed at ages 7 and up, so third grade, fourth grade, but it could be utilized for fifth grade as well. Even though it's a lower reading level, it does have really good content to it. A catchy phrase from the book. So it starts off with a great hook to pull the audience in. And it starts with, "Hey, buddy, what's your number?" said a metal voice with a Brooklyn accent. "I think that vacuum cleaner is talking to you," said Fred. It was floating in midair right in front of us, and Fred was right. It did look like an overgrown vacuum cleaner. The robot vacuum thing floated closer. It raised one arm and pointed something at us that looked an awful lot like a laser gun. So right off the bat, that's the introduction. So it really pulls in the audience right away. So for a summary of the book, this book is about three boys, Fred, Joe, and Sam, who travel to the future. They have a magic square that allows them to teleport through time. So they travel to the future to the year 2095, and then they get to see what it's like. The conflict in the book is that they don't have the magic square to get back to 1995, which is where it takes place. So they jump 100 years in the future. It's a really enticing book, again, because it includes the technology of the future. It talks about the three boys on the adventures and things that they encounter in 2095. There's great pictures and there's a sense of silliness to it. That's them jumping on one of the floating ads, which is a squishy, soft toilet paper roll, and it's a 3D floating ad. So that just kind of shows like the humor of the text and why it's appropriate for these kids and why they enjoy reading it. So I like this book. I thought it was engaging. It grabbed their attention. I use this for a fourth grade class. And again, it was age appropriate, but it was also relevant to the things that they're reading about and things that they're learning in the book. So again, they should be able to read this. I would recommend it for a few reasons. One, like I said, it's got a lot of humor. The pictures, it's very relevant to students. But also in the back of the book, it's actually part of a series. And I don't know if you can see, but there's all different histories there. So it's all Greek to me. So the Time Warp Trio, it's all Greek to me. Summer Reading is Killing Me, King Tut. They have 2095, which is this book. Not So Jolly Roger. So it ties in, the series ties in a bunch of other texts that have to do with the historical ties. So if they're not getting as much history in the classroom, then they can utilize the books to kind of get a little sense of the history. And then 3, I like it. Like I said, it's readability, and then it's hooks, how it draws in the reader, and the cliffhangers that it allows for. My students love this book. The only issue they had with it was this. They said that it was confusing keeping track of the main characters. There's Fred, Joe, and Sam, but they jump between the boys a lot, so it was kind of confusing on whose personality was whose. And then they introduce their great-granddaughters, who are the killer girls, they believe, and who are chasing them around the future, trying to get a hold of them because they need to help them get back to 1995. But the boys don't realize that and think that they're after them to capture them. So they introduced the 3 great-granddaughters, and then again, more characters introduced, so it does get a little finicky with that aspect. But overall, they did enjoy it. A lot of the kids were rating it 4 out of 5 stars, so we did a little class rating at the end. One strategy I used, a strategy that I used, is I use a sketch notebook. It's kind of like what was used in the text describing a notebook for vocabulary. We use this book for vocabulary, but we also use it for comprehension to see what the students are understanding. So this student, for example, get that closer. These are some of her notes. So she wrote down key vocabulary like prestidigitation. She wrote down Benjamin Franklin because they talk about him. Cell bots are the vacuum cleaners, so she drew some pictures to go with it. You can also see the squishy soft. They joke that one slice of pizza is $100 in the text because it's an original slice of pizza. These are the 3 killer girls. So by incorporating a sketch notebook, They can not only write down any key vocabulary that they're wondering about or curious about, but they can also draw pictures to accommodate. So this helps with the comprehension of the text. Are they understanding what they read? And they can refer back to this and say, okay, in the last chapter, we read about the cellbots. We read about the mystery, Vitagorp, which is like the food that they have in the future. So it allows the reader to not only visualize it, but if they are a visual person or an artist, then they can draw the pictures, or if they just like to write notes, and they can take notes. So that's why I like sketch notebooks and being able to use these as a strategy to reinforce the reading skills and checking their comprehension and their understanding in a way that makes sense to them. So that is a sketch notebook. I'm just going to cover the student's name, but that's the front of her notebook. And again, the book that I introduced and did a little book talk on was the Time Warp Trio 2095 by John Sheska.